Be excellent to each other and party on. We're back for another Legacy League, and today we're playing Rug Delver, and we are playing the exact 75 cards that INF, Japanese Magic the Gathering Online Superstar, is playing. He just published his sideboard guide like a few hours ago, basically, and it is quite comprehensive. It's in Japanese, but you can right-click and you can go over and look at the kind of like English translation done by Google Translate. Somebody will eventually translate it. There are some weird words in here, like Sinister Fervor is not a Magic the Gathering card. What is this card that he's talking about? It's under the main board section. So here it is. So it's I think it's like Jakuaku na Netsuki, I believe is how that's pronounced in Japanese. And if you run into some weird words, you can always just throw them into Google. And here it is. I recognize this card, Unholy Heat. I would not have guessed that is the translation for Unholy Heat. But that's how they translated it into Japanese. It probably has some flavor that me as a non-native Japanese speaker would not necessarily appreciate. But anyway, this is not a Japanese podcast. This is a podcast about Delver. So we're going to be going through INF's sideboard guide in between matches, and we're going to be making the exact substitutions that INF recommends. By the way, there's a link to INF's sideboard guide in the description for the video, and I just want to do a quick shout out to INF for being so open about his strategy. He could keep his cards close to his chest and continue to just quietly win, but he is bringing the Promethean fire down from the gods and sharing it with all of us regular people. So as always, we're going to play a full 5 rounds. See you in round 1. Round 1, we're up against Storm Count is 1, who, would you believe, is not a Storm player with a Storm Count of 1. Yeah, I think they're likely on Stoneblade, which is not a favorable matchup, and probably has lots of removal spells. But I think it's important to keep this hand because we don't want to go lower in cards. We may be able to protect Delver with a series of dazes. We can crack one bauble immediately, draw a card, and then we can crack the other during their turn so that we can potentially flip our Delver. Blue opener. Ponder. Can I get an Island Ponder in the chat? All right. Ponder resolves. Yeah, this is like basically the nightmare matchup in my opinion because they're going to have so much removal. And they're going to be able to grind. Questing Druid, not a bad rip. I don't expect any sort of wastelands. In fact, we can take a look at their lists. So you can see they generally play 3 Prismatic Ending, 4 Swords of Plowshares. Yeah, Argus is basically cooked from the get-go, from the jump. And they even have Snapcasters to play those back. So time is of the essence. We do need to beat down back to basics. Pretty scary. We do have a basic island in the deck, which we could get. But they don't play any other disruption. I think I'll just get the Valk to keep my options open. We might have to get the Trop to play this out, depending on what they do with his first one. All the fetches fetch all the duels, so we don't need to think about that at least. We are going to give away what we're on. I don't think that's a problem. Delver in the house. Let's go ahead and cast this. And let's cast this too. And I am going to go ahead and bobble them now. Back to basics. Okay, well that's good to know. We're going to not have a lot of lands pretty soon. Unless we daze this, which we may. So we'll go ahead and go to their turn. And I just need to... I guess in their draw step after the draw, I'm going to go ahead and bobble to see what they draw. Okay, so they've drawn. Did they draw? I just want to make sure that we don't. Yeah, they drew. No. Yeah, they've drawn. So I can check, and this should be a different card other than Back to Basics, unless they drew 2 Back to Basics in a row. Okay, Brainstorm. Good. All right. Counterbalance. Oh wow. No, I don't really want to deal with that. That's pretty damn good against my deck. I'm willing to take a tempo L here. Yeah, Counterbalance is potentially backbreaking because we know they have Brainstorm on top, so that shuts us out of 1-drops next turn. It also means that they're thinking about forcing here. I think if they force, I force back because I know they have Brainstorm on top. We're just going to struggle to resolve anything if this resolves. And yes, I know that they're going to be casting a Back to Basics the following turn, assuming they have land. Actually, with the knowledge that they have Brainstorm on top, okay, it doesn't really matter now. So we're going to get a Bobble trigger, and we want to make sure that we stack the Oh, you know what? I screwed up. I was supposed to bubble myself. Sorry. That was a punt. It doesn't matter what sequence we put these in. So let's see what we're going to get here. Murktide Regent. No, I don't want to reveal it. I'll draw the Murktide, and now I draw a card. Yeah, and had I stacked that correctly, we would have drawn the days there, and we would have had something to do here. So that was a big punt. Yeah. It's just been a few weeks. I'll save you the excuses. Okay. So we're coming in for 1 and we're passing. So this gets Basic Island, which is important against Back to Basics. Yeah, I was supposed to bubble myself, and then I would know that I was going to draw a Murktide, and then I would know to put the other card on the stack first. So I think the simple thing to do here is just, we've got lots of dazes. I'm just going to get an island, and just might as well get the island out. I'm not going to get the drop here. And then we're going to attempt to daze this, and if they force to protect it, now that we've shown the island, they're less likely to. So maybe yeah. And maybe I should have just Misty Rainforest. No, we don't want that to reveal that. Okay, we're getting a very slow start here. I think it's okay. I'll just open with my island in case I need to cast something and they have a Back to Basics again. So they're down to 4 cards. That's the good news. The reason they're down to 4 cards is they've been playing out land, so they're going to be hitting us with really hard stuff soon. I think in this situation, this can't live. I think they have a force of their own. Daze is losing its value. If they bounce this, then we can at least Murktide next turn. They're piercing. That's unfortunate. So I think they may also have a force in addition to this. So I think almost certainly they're just going to bounce their Delver back. So it didn't matter too much that it didn't flip. We didn't get the damage in that we hoped. Wasteland does nothing here. I think the simple thing to do is we can't Questing Druid during their turn, which is a real big problem. I think we don't have a Surveil in our deck either, which is also pretty bad. I think I'm just going to drop the Delver, because if I drop Murktide and it eats the first removal spell, that's really bad. And I'll plan to go get my Trop, so we have our colors. They shouldn't interfere with our individual lands. They're just going to be casting cards like Back to Basics. It's fine. All they need is a Prismatic Ending or a Plow to set us back. Again, like, this is the nightmare matchup from the jump. I don't think me doing the correct thing with the Delver would really be of that consequence. I'll be surprised if I can actually inflict any real damage on them in this game. They can Prismatic Ending at instant speed. We have a very high density of instants and sorceries. So it's like, I think 1 in 3 times unassisted, it should flip. Murktide Regent. So I just want to make sure that I am going to get a chance to shuffle this away. Yes, we're definitely shuffling away that second Murktide Regent. Yeah, we've had bad Delver luck, but not statistically aberrational. Like, we're within 1 standard deviation where we should be probably. Where's our Trop? Oh, it's just hidden. It's like Tropical and Volcanic are the exact same length, so I didn't see it for some reason. Okay. So I think what we want to do is probably Ponder, and if we can find a Bolt, that can engage that, and then we don't need to worry about attacking Teferi, because a Bolt cleanly deals with that. Okay, and we did find a Bolt. This Wasteland is pretty unappetizing, but let's just accept that if this fails, and if we don't kill Teferi, like, the game's over anyway. Actually, yeah, they're plowing in response. That's fine. Do we kill it? All right. Well, they got a 2-for-1 out of that because they drew a card. We didn't get their attack in. We're just going to pass. Another one. I'm going to concede. We know the top cards of our deck are not good. We could Questing Druid to get them and get deeper into our deck and stuff, but we're going to draw at least 1 dud, and Teferi's going to... Yeah, this is like the 10-90 matchup. I'm not exaggerating. This is like the absolute worst nightmare for a Delver deck to face this deck. So I don't want you to get the impression that I'm going to be whining the entire time. Oh, we got to check the INF guide. I don't know if they have one for Stoneblade. Okay, so this is like the kind of abbreviated thing. And no, they don't have anything for Jeskai at all, because it doesn't come up very often. And when it does, you just punt, basically. Like, you're not going to win it generally. Okay, so I'm just going to follow my intuition. I think blasts are good. I think dazes are terrible. I think wastelands can come out. Delver really only uses wastelands as a spell. It doesn't actually use them to do anything meaningful, if that makes sense. I guess we could keep 1 wasteland, but it doesn't really like, none of our spells get cast by colorless mana except for Force Negation. Questing Druid does. That's it. Like, almost everything is a 1-drop. I think we could bring a Days in just to have a second 2-drop, but actually, how many 2-drops do they have in their deck? I think they really just have 1-drops. They do have Counterbalance themselves. Yeah, I'll keep the cheeky one of Days. It served me well if you watch a lot of my other videos. Like if you're just tuning in because you're like a Delver fan and wanted to watch Delver own, hopefully it will in subsequent matchups, but not in this round. But if you're just tuning in, I actually usually play blue-black tempo strategies. That's my main. And but because I do play tempo, I feel called upon to make a video to mark the occasion of this video. Okay, this Unholy Heat arguably could have come out. I'm going to mulligan. This is much better. I'm so glad I mulliganed. So we got the God Hand. The God Hand is DRC into Bobble. However, I am thinking about maybe opening with, well, because all their removal, Hydroblast or Pyroblast could put him in the graveyard, but generally your creatures never make it to the graveyard. So the general idea is you play the Delver first, they bolt it or they ping it with a Bowmaster or whatever, then it's in your yard and at least it helps with the Delirium on the DRC. However, I'm not convinced that we're going to get there. I'm going to put back this Unholy Heat. And we're almost certainly going to catch Trop here, fetch Trop, and we're not going to live in fear of Back to Basics, even though they do play 2 of them. If it gets to the point where Back to the Basics is backbreaking, it means we won't have deployed enough threats to win anyway. So I just don't think about it. I think it's fine to, this Bobble will hopefully help us dig toward Days, which we have 1 of in our deck. That is going to go into the graveyard, and now we're closer to Delirium. This is precisely what I wanted to happen. Let's go ahead and hit their top of their deck. They have a Prismatic Ending. All right. I don't think DRC is long for this world, unfortunately. We draw. Is it a Days? Or 1 of Days? No. So she's going to go bye-bye. And if you're playing against Delver, do you always remove the DRC? Yes. This is the little engine that could within the deck. You have to remove it. All right. So I think we just double Delver. Yeah, I'm just going to choose aggression here. We can always fetch an island if we absolutely need to later. And this way, we're either hitting for 2 or for 6, or maybe 3 or 1, depending on what they play here. We got 3 Delvers in a row off the top. I would have definitely kept that Delver if I knew that they had removal, but I didn't know because you have to cast and get the Surveil trigger before you get to see what's on top of the deck. Stoneforge Mystic, this is bad news. They can get probably Batterskull is what I would get if that's in their deck. Yep, they get Batterskull. Lifelink. We're probably never going to beat that. I'm trying to think of what we can draw here that can help us. Tropical Island. We can't even attack because Batterskull has a... Stoneforge Mystic has a... she doesn't even lose to Bowmaster because of the way they template her, which is good. I like Stoneblade. I think it's underpowered, but I like it. I'm going to go ahead and seek now for momentum, because if I find a bolt, that's good. No. Oh, my goodness. So we already made our land drop, which was probably actually a mistake. Yeah, because we might find a land off here. All right, I'm going to do it, and I'm just going to hope that one of these cards is good. And if none of the cards are good, you can yell at me in the comments. But I don't think you win a game where you're standing still against a Batterskull when you got 2 useless Delvers on the table. If they force here, I will probably just concede. Seek the Beast on the stack. Getting some server lag. Hopefully that goes away. I haven't had any the past day or so since they pushed the update. They pushed the new set Aether Drift, and they updated. Okay. So we did get a land, and we got a Pyroblast. Neither of these do anything. They would have been great to have in hand, but they weren't going to go into our hand anyway, and our opponent would just play around them. Yeah, feeling pretty... don't judge the league based off of this one thing. They're about to put the thing in play. Can we flip? Can we get a flip? No. Bye. I'm done. All right. I promise not to get all defeatist. I'm gonna put in the best. This is a power deck that we're playing, but we just got terrible matchup luck. Round 2, we're up against an unknown opponent with a pretty waste heavy hand. I like this. If they are on a non-basic Jeskai strategy, hopefully so. Urza's Tower. All right. Wasteland is good against that. So they have this card. It's called, oh man, that's a terrible draw. I think we get on the table first and then we start wasting. There is a possibility that they could just planar Nexus into death for us. Yeah, my instinct is go ahead and get on the table. Wasting the planar Nexus is much more impactful than wasting the Urza Saga, but there could be like a Karn, there could be a One Ring, there could be a lot of stuff that they cast if they have exactly... Whoa, Force of Will. I did not expect that. I'll take it. So they're playing Force in a Tron deck? Urza Saga is great for us. Oh, okay. I think I know what they're playing now. They're playing Coveted Jewel. So we are going to waste that Saga, and we're going to ponder for another threat. Yeah, this is good because this will be our threat that we win with after all the dust settles. I am going to go ahead and I'll ponder first, but I'm almost certainly going to want to waste that. Yeah, these cards are... We don't want... I mean, we want the Brainstorm, but I don't want to have to not waste just to keep a Brainstorm. Okay, we got a fetch, which is not great. I'm going to go ahead and hit the Saga. Our graveyard is getting filled up slowly. Next turn, we can ponder again. Again, if we can find a Brainstorm without all the strings attached of drawing a bunch of cards we don't want, then, okay, there's the Planar Nexus. We'll definitely hit that. Please don't freaking Coveted Jewel. One Ring. Yeah, I was telling you this is possible. I don't regret wasting the Urza Saga, but now we have to deal with this. So when you're thinking about playing Delver as a deck, you have to understand Delver is way underpowered from what is out there, but it's the interaction that makes it really good. And we do have good interaction, but we've unfortunately ripped Unholy Heat, which is the wrong kind of interaction, and we've ripped lands, which are not particularly... Okay, so options. One, we can cut them off Planar Nexus. They're going to be drawing 3 cards next turn. They will quite likely just find another Planar Nexus. So I don't know that gating their mana is good enough. The other option we have, of course, is we Brainstorm, and we shuffle away the bad cards like Unholy Heat. I think we try that first and see what we get. Force is not nothing. Okay, Force. So we got so many lands that I think I am going to do the latter. I'm going to shuffle away. Gosh, I want to shuffle away this Unholy Heat too. What are the... I mean, if they're actually uncovered a Jewel, the odds of them playing something that... Yeah, I would be amazed if they're playing any... I think it's better to have a land. Okay, so now we're going to play this land out. I think we go ahead and we ponder immediately just to fill up our graveyard with instants and sorceries. Next turn we can do a big Murktide and we can waste. I don't think they're going to go after our lands at all, so I guess I could go ahead and grab the Trop here. Let's go ahead and ponder. So we are going to shuffle this. Don't want even more lands. Okay, we ripped a Brainstorm, which is great, because we're going to have to pitch cast Brainstorm, or pitch Brainstorm 2 Force of Will when we pitch cast it here. So what we have to do is we have to survive whatever they're going to do here, and then we're going to waste their Nexus, and we're going to hope they don't find a second one. They do have enough for Coveted Jewel. We'll force Coveted Jewel. However, they can force back. Potentially. Draw 2 cards, then discard a card. This is one of those cards that they can... yeah, we're not going to counter mana at this point, I don't think. I think we counter like explosive like cards that win the game. All right. We could bounce this out of play and make them recast it. They can recast it if we waste here. Let's think about this. So this... Draw 2 cards and add 2 mana in any combination. That is powerful. This is like a Soul Ring basically for colored mana, and it gives you card filtering. So we hit this, we bounce this. Is that better than just dropping a Murktide? Murktide would be a 7/7. Wait, 6/6. Only a 6/6. So they take 8. We attack. They tap this, that also lowers their life total, but they're going to get 3 cards next turn. My instinct is to just waste and play a Murktide, and I'm going to do that. The question is, I guess, do we go for the thing that actually produces extra mana, or do we go for the thing that makes this produce extra mana? Because they could have a second one. I think it's the Nexus. Leave a comment with a timestamp if you have feedback on that decision. I genuinely don't know which one is, mathematically correct. All right, we're leaving a land and a creature in our graveyard for delirium purposes later. If they force this, sadly, I probably have to force back just because what are we doing? Waiting for them to die to the One Ring? That's not going to happen. They're going to have 8 cards in their hand next turn. Yeah, it's going to be a bloodbath. 2 blue mana. I didn't want to have to counter something this turn. This could be Sink into Stupor or something like that. K command. I think sadly we have to let this resolve. This is not the fight. This adds mana. This lets them kind of stack their deck or dodge bad cards. But I think we just have to stop like a follow-up One Ring or a Coveted Jewel. Those are the two cards that I'm comfortable forcing at this point. They did drop to 16, which means they are dead in 2 swings. I'll be amazed, stunned if we can get that far. Show and tell. I think we had to counter this. I don't think we have a choice. It's just too devastating. I'm going to keep the Brazen Borrower just in case we get to borrow something back. But they may have a force here. They've drawn a lot of cards. Okay, that resolved. They haven't played their land drop yet. Could be a doozy. Okay, it's not a Planar Nexus, or they would have played that out before. Brazen Borrower on our Murktide maybe to buy time. They have a copy artifact. Well, that sucks. They can copy the ring. Now they have protection, and they've reset their ring. They don't even have to reset the ring. They can keep this one. They can draw these cards, but they get the pro trigger. They've chosen to keep the one that has pro. Okay, so here's what I think we have to do, and I think this is how it works. When they tap the One Ring next turn, we can bounce it out of play. The best draw in our deck is definitely Wasteland. I don't know how they didn't find a land drop that turn. Am I missing something? Okay. So if we brainstorm into Wasteland, then we can waste, but we can't actually deal with the One Ring itself. Bouncing this to hand could be impactful. It produces a lot of mana. They do have mana in these spawns. DRC will probably be Delirious. Not necessarily. We could DRC and then brainstorm to get extra looks. And then if they can't close the game next turn, then we probably win. But they could always just copy artifact and make another One Ring to get protection again. So the real question is, are we going to borrow something this turn, or are we not going to? And my instinct is to just go ahead and put some more power on the table in case their deck hits their fail rate, which seems unlikely. But I think bouncing this out, like at the very worst, they're just going to play it again and they're going to get another turn of protection. Bouncing this out has little impact because they have plenty of mana to redeploy. DRC coming in. Brainstorm. Surveil Trigger. What can we put in there? I don't want another one. Another force would be great if we find it. We have Force Negation in our deck too. These cards are not fantastic. However, they're not bad. I think we just waste the tower, and then they'll have to pay life when they tap the tomb. I think hitting the tomb is probably a mistake, considering that like we're legit like hoping that they do enough damage to themselves that we can survive. So I definitely don't want this Murktide. I'm going to put it back. Put back this Delta. And yeah, we're going to go ahead and waste the tower. I have no idea what their deck's fail rate is. It's probably pretty low, though, considering how much redundancy they have in terms of being able to copy the One Ring. Drawing 4 cards here. 12 cards in the grip. Another Ancient Tomb. Grim Monolith. They could have like keys or something. 3 mana in the pool. 5 mana in the pool. If this is a Paradox Engine, the game's over. 7 mana in the pool. They're going to do a giant K-Command maybe, which is fine with me. There's the Coveted Jewel. They get a bunch of mana. They get some cards. It's worth noting that if we can successfully attack, we get those. But if we can successfully attack, they're dead. 3 mana in the pool. Copy artifact. They can just copy the ring. Oh, they're going to copy the jewel. I think copying the ring and just keeping the ring that doesn't have anything on it is totally fine because it protects them. Because I think you have to do combat damage whenever one or more creature or opponent attack you and you aren't blocked. Okay, so that is notable because the ring won't protect them from having to give up the jewel, even if they create another ring. 7 mana in the pool. Transmute artifact. They can go get another one. It is kind of cool to see this deck pop off on MTGO, like on a video, because Tony Scapone, frequent Be Excellent opponent on this channel, Tony Scapone, combo extraordinaire, has put a lot of work into developing this deck, and probably so have some other people. There's the Paradox Engine, and that is the ball game. I'm not going to wait. I think they've got 15 cards in their hand. They have infinity mana. Yeah. We could just like eat up their clock, but I don't think that's going to be an issue. They've got 18 minutes left. Okay. So, of course, this is not on INF sideboard guide because nobody plays this. But I think a Braid comes in. It could hit, some of their smaller artifacts. It certainly replaces, I think, Unholy Heat. Unholy Heat's terrible here. I think Daze is pretty terrible, even on the play. I'm not convinced it's good. Force Negation's good. Counterbalance is not good because of the sheer volume of the variety of mana costs. Price of Progress could be good. I think Price of Progress is more likely to be good than Lightning Bolt, because this might hit for like 6 or something like that. So I'd probably sub like this. Yeah, I think all the wastes are going to be relevant. Having 6 force effects seems good. Let's do it. I think this is potentially a favorable matchup. So I'm going to blame myself if I lose. I'm not going to blame the deck. And I never blame the deck. Unless I'm the person that built it. Then I feel reserve the right to blame it. So this is a force hand. Plenty of blue cards. Borrower. Mana. Is this sufficiently aggressive? We're on the play. My instinct is to mull this. Okay, this is basically the same hand, but we have even more removal. I think we keep this. We bottom. Borrower is a unique effect. It can stop a construct token. I think we do want to keep it. So my instinct is to just put back one of the ponders, and then we go ahead and we Valk Ponder. And then after we get some more stuff set up, like an attacker ideally, then we can worry about starting to consign stuff. I've only played against this deck like once or twice, so I'm still kind of learning what it's capable of. And all right, this is spectacular, phenomenal, incredible. So what we do next turn is we drop the DRC and we waste them. They're, like every single land in their deck is wastable, I believe. I'll eat my shorts. It's not the case. And I will not eat that on camera. I'll eat it in private, so you'll certainly know that I did it. So since we know that Consign's coming, Consign will be the force pitch here. It's worth noting that a lot of their artifacts are colored, so we won't be able to consign them. I'm going to go ahead and play this out just in case there's like some sort of like card that I'm just not thinking about that they could have. All right, and then, yeah, I am going to hit this. And you might argue like, well, what if they play Urza Saga? If they play Urza Saga, we'll deal with it. Consign to Memory can stop the construct trigger. It can't stop the search trigger. I would be willing to bet that they have a key in their deck. Now they have a Planar Nexus they can't tap. If we just chilled and waited for them to play something else, they'd have 4 mana this turn. So I stand by my decision. Got to land. We don't have anything else going on, so I'm just going to play it out, and I'm just going to attack for 1, and we're going to pass. Consign is very powerful against their deck, I believe. There's the Urza Saga I was worried about. I mean, I think we let the first trigger happen so they can make mana, but I'll definitely consider not letting the second trigger happen. We don't have a Surveil land in the deck, so there's no real merit to fetching here. We're drawing wild. Let's draw something good. Brainstorm, Ponder. Okay, that's not good. I'm to the point where I'm seriously considering just playing out the Brazen Borrower as an attacker so we can get some clock, because this is like, we are the beatdown here. We do have to be proactive. I could hold this for a future Brainstorm. I think I'll hold the subsequent one for a future Brainstorm, and we'll go ahead and attack. We can go ahead and allow the construct to be made and then bounce it. Or we can just stop this. I think I could also consign the trigger. I don't want to burn too many consigns on things that may not matter. All right. Let's see if we can not draw a land. Okay, Bobble's fine. This gets Delirium pretty soon. This gives us Delirium, so we're going to hit for 3 now. I am going to Bobble myself to determine whether I want to shuffle. Okay, I want to shuffle that, I think. I'm much more interested in Disruption than I am having a 4/5. And also, I'm already using my graveyard. Let's go in for a close encounter here of the DRC kind. And I'm just going to go ahead and fetch now. We'll go ahead and grab our Trop just in case we need it. I don't expect any sort of disruption from our opponent here. They're going to create this. I think we wait to their turn. We're drawing wild. Let's see if we draw. Okay, Ponder's great. I'm going to consign the search. I don't want them to have a key. They're passing priority. I think it's worth just ensuring that this actually resolves. This doesn't ensure it, but it increases the likelihood that it works. So I will replicate this. Same targets. Okay, now we get our trigger. I do actually want to keep this because it doubles the clock and it is even more card selection, which I think will be valuable. Now we'll see what they do. Another Urza Saga is fine. Lodestone Golem. If we just bounce this back to hand, this buffs the construct, which we can just... Yeah, I'm thinking about just... I think I'm going to force pitch Ponder here. And then if they fight over it, I don't want to shuffle away the DRC on top of my deck. If they force, I can consign it. They're coming in for a hug. They do use their life total as a resource for Ancient Tombs and the One Ring. So I do think it's good to just try to keep the pressure on. Go ahead and attempt to play this first. Now we kind of have two options. One, if they want to spend their mana, like creating these, I think that's totally fine. I think I want to keep my consign up in case they try to do the One Ring or something. I'll be totally happy if the best they can do is create a construct next turn. Even if they have a bunch of constructs, they're not going to be able to raise 6 in the sky. They're dead in 2 turns. So the reason I'm saying that is you can consign this trigger that gives them the ability to create constructs, and I'm opting not to. And if it comes back to bite me, well, I can bounce at least one of them out of the way. If they cast any spells, they're not going to be able to create a construct this turn. All right. The mana efficient play is to just go ahead and bounce this out of play since they're likely to create more. I would be stunned if they counter this. I don't think that's necessary. I'm looking for more consigns or forces. That is fine. They have Metallic Rebuke. Why would they do that? Okay, that's fine. All right. Mark. I don't think we need to cast Mark. I think we hold it. Coming in for 6 in the air. Restricting their options here. Got Replicated, Consign. If they remove one of these, we have Brazen Borrower on deck to step in and fulfill the role of Beatdown. All right, they're searching. Their mana is pinched thanks to that one Wasteland at the beginning that took out the tower and thanks to their own disappearing mana base. They now have a ton of mana. If this is One Ring, I have to consign it with all my strength. They're feeding black in. What could that mean? This is bad news. They're probably going to destroy one of our creatures. And then the question, I guess, is can they somehow kill it? What are they going to target? I actually don't know. Man, this is tough because I think that's all part of the same ability. They choose it and we don't get a chance to respond. Once there's no targeting here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just float a bunch of mana here before this trigger goes off, because if they kill one of these, I need to be able to play this out. Because if they have like, what is it called? Like transmute artifact, copy artifact. I can't stop that. They can use this to copy the Chaos Defiler, and now they can hit this. So we are going to cast this Borrower out. They can hit us for 3, but are they winning the race? Yeah, they're actually winning the race currently. Oh, we could have actually stopped that trigger. I didn't think about that. Yeah, that was a mistake. I mean, they would have just done it the second time. We would have been able to play out the... Yeah, I'm actually not sure whether stopping that trigger would have been the correct thing to do here. But I can tell you that we're in trouble. So we have Brainstorm, which could find a Bolt, or a Price of Progress would do it. There's no point in not attacking here, so we'll attack first. I don't think there's any benefits in not doing that. Okay. So dropping to 3. Price of Progress is the best find. I'm going to go ahead and do it off of this. And then we have Murktide as a backup strategy. Okay, Preordained could find something. It's worth noting that if we block one of these, we could just block this, and then the trigger doesn't happen. So here's what I think we do. I think we put back Preordained. We can waste and hold up Consign, or we can, but we do need a Murk. If we waste this, they have 3 mana total. I think that's probably better than holding up a Consign that might be forced. I think that was actually a mistake. I think I was supposed to hit the tower there. So let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's coming in as a 7/7, which is tall enough to block any of these things. If they're able to copy artifact and kill it, then we're definitely dead. Looks like they're dismembering down to 1. Oh, Metamorph. Yeah, and this copy's one of those. Wow, I did not expect to lose this game. Yeah, good games. Wow. That we're just being destroyed. We haven't won a single game. Now, it's worth pointing that out. This is not INF's fault. we haven't been able to consult their sideboard guide because none of these matchups come up in their sideboard guide. We're playing against rogue decks for which Delver is not tuned. Yeah, the closest thing to what we just played would probably be Sneak and Show, but that's pretty different because it's playing, we can bring in like extra blasts and stuff like that. Those consigns were really good though against our opponent. It's just that they weren't good enough. It's worth noting that had I gone the route of holding up the consign to memory and not wasting them, it wouldn't have mattered because Phyrexian Dreadnought is blue. So I wouldn't have been able to counter that. I could have countered the ETB trigger though, that would have exiled it. So let's talk through that line where I was up against the first trigger they played. I tapped all my lands and I didn't think to counter that trigger. Had I countered that, it wouldn't have made any difference because they would have just copy artifacted the other one. Like the card would still be in play. I can't counter the card because it's colored. And then they would have copy artifacted and then they would have killed one of my things. And I wouldn't have been able to deploy the Brazen Borrower. And when I wasn't able to deploy the Brazen Borrower, my clock still would have been insufficient. So I don't believe there was anything I could have done there. But leave comments with timestamps if you can think of anything. See you in round 3. Round 3, we're up against Beanstalk. I played this player earlier today, which is in yesterday's video. Very skilled Bug Beanstalk player. This hand is totally fine. So this is a keep, and we are going to keep. And because we suspect our opponent is on Beanstalk, we are going to fetch an island because Bug Beans does play 3 or 4 wastelands, and we don't want to get wasted out of the game. I know Delver, customarily, you're not supposed to waste Delver and everything like that, but if your opponent does choose to waste Delver, it's catastrophic for us here. Our opponent likely plays Orcish Bowmaster, so being able to flip the Delver ahead of that is a high priority. So I will probably aggressively cast Brainstorm into Delver to try to flip Delver. We can deterministically flip Delver with all these cards we have in our hand. But I think it's worth doing here because we have the double Brainstorm and they're probably playing 4 Bowmaster in their deck. When you're playing Beanstalk, you want to play a whole lot of Bowmasters precisely because Bowmaster can completely wreck your day and you need to have Bowmaster supremacy. They just told me, I'm just trying, yeah. They're trying to make Bug Beans work. Okay, and they're probably hoping that I'm on like some cool creative deck, but nope, just on Delver here. Good old classic Delver hasn't changed that much since the printing of Dragon Rage Chandler. I'm going to ride this threat, but if I ride this threat, this tells me they don't have a Bowmaster. This is the only threat I've got going on. They made Days Back. It's a 1-for-1. They don't. So now we have to rely on Delver flipping itself. Did not flip itself. That's okay. We'll get another crack at it later. I think Wasteland is fine here. We don't have a Daze or anything. So, and I don't like brainstorming desperately to find Daze. I'd rather just take out the land that's on the table. We don't have to worry about them playing tech lands because, yeah, I feel vindicated in my decision to waste there. Been to Murktide looking for another land most likely. Time is on our side. No. Okay, well, we did find a wasteland. It doesn't flip, but I'm just going to waste them again. And this way, if they have cantrips in their hand, they're not going to be able to use them. I'm a big fan of just piling on the wastelands and just trying, because this will eventually flip and it may be able to get 6 or 9 damage while they're desperately scrambling to find lands. Okay, so they did find a land. They either drew that or they had that in the hand. I know that statement conveys no information. Thoughtseize is fine. Please, by all means, Thoughtseize the Delver deck. You're helping us do our job. I know that they play probably just 1 or 2 Thoughtseizes in their deck. Bug Beans often plays one of. There's something that Pokemoki does, and he's the main person who developed Bug Beans. And it is to play a wide variety. Oh, yes, we will take that Force Negation, and we will flip our Delver. Okay, so now I'm just going to play the known land here, and I'm going to attack, and I'll hold the Brainstorms. We can emergency Brainstorm if they play a Delver, but I'm just going to chill. I'm not going to do anything with these. I'll hold them. We're not looking for anything until we are. The main thing just being stuff that can kill our Delver. I'm going to play out the land. I'm going to attack. I'm going to pass. We now have double Brainstorm if they decide to instep Bowmaster or anything like that, we may be able to find a Daze or a Force. Bayou. Okay, still not moving. Definitely getting Bowmaster vibes. This is going to be forced for sure. Oh wait, it's a Murktide. Uh-oh. So I'm going to have to Desperation Brainstorm here. Yeah, we can't beat a Murktide. How big is it? It's not going to be super big, but we do have the Force here, which is great, and we can even force back if we need to. So I'm going to put this back. I don't even really want to draw this. Like, we don't need red, but I don't really have a way to shuffle. So I'm going to just force first, and I'm going to pitch the Daze, and then, I'll pitch the Daze at this point. So they know that we have the Force negation. We'll use that to fight if we need to, if they force back. I'm okay with going to Hellbent, because we have another Delver on top. All right. So this turn, we're going to play our Delver, and we're going to hope that they don't Bowmaster it, because we don't actually have any counterplay if they do. But they're getting low enough in life that this Delver can go the rest of the way. I am also going to opt to use our non-basic to play this, because we want to make sure we have Daze protection when we force negate. Lorien Cycling. They got a Trop. I do want to play their deck. I'm like pining for it now that I'm like playing them twice in one day. It's fine. Wasteland. There's the Bowmasters. I'm going to go ahead and Brainstorm. I don't think we're likely to find another Force, but if we do, I do think it's worth aiming it at it. Okay, gosh, this is pretty awkward. These cards are terrible. We're going to have to hope that Bowmaster can fly across and kill, because none of these cards are going to do anything. I don't want to actively feed their Bowmaster. So I'm going to put these cards back, and we'll just hold the Force negation just in case they give us something to do. But this is right about where their deck starts to take over if you haven't taken over. They just get like little 2-for-1s left and right. And they are wasting as well. Yep. All right. Can we get through 2 more times? If they have a Fatal Push, they can just time it to where they're casting it during their turn. There are 2. To my knowledge, they don't have any ways of gaining life. I'm going to hold the Mishra's Bauble as unknown information. I don't think we want to crack it. Well, let's see. We have a Bolt in hand, and so we could play it out and we could just draw to it. If we do it during our upkeep, they could have a second Bowmaster. They could snipe this. Yeah, I think I'm just going to hold it in hand, preserve information. They need specifically like Murderous Cut or Fatal Push or something like that. They said they stacked their Brainstorm wrong. Yeah, we could have easily lost that. As in control as we may have seemed. Okay, so against Beanstalk, I'm not sure if this is on the list. We're not getting to make a lot of use of this sideboard guy because nobody's playing these decks we're playing against. I don't think Price comes in. I do think Pyro comes in. Pyro's quite good. Counterbalance could come in. They have a pretty broad array. I mean, the whole point of Beanstalk is that you have like these high mana value cards. I think we just bring in the Pyros and we cut. Force Negation, I don't think is great against them. Daze can be good, but it's not spectacular on the draw. So we cut a couple of these. Is there anything else we want to cut? Unholy Heat can kill Delver. I'm a big advocate of playing 2 Brazen Borrower. I know that INF is not doing that, but I would definitely play that. Like, and if you watch all my Delver videos, I've always got 2. The problem is, of course, you need a critical mass of interaction spells. So what I do is I cut the Questing Druid, and I just don't play green, so that I can play 2 Brazen Borrowers, and then I can have like even more creatures and instances and stuff. But you can see that this has 23 instances sorceries, and I like to play 24. Anyway, I just want to be clear, like, INF is the Delver Master, or one of the many Delver Masters, and I don't want to like be, critiquing their deck too much. But I will say that when our Delvers are struggling to flip, that tiny little amount, that 2% difference in likelihood of flipping does come up. Yeah, I can't get behind Price of Progress here. It's just, it may not do anything, whereas Bolt will definitely do something. It does suck to have Preordain in our deck against the Bowmaster's deck, but I think we keep it. This is what I like to call the God Hand. We've got so much action here. I'm going to keep, and we are going to hope to DRC into a full graveyard, and then from there, yep, that's fine. So we had the option of just bolting her, but I am an aggressive player, and I think we just go full aggro here. That is my instinct. They could easily just have a daze, and then we're just sitting there doing nothing. I want to be aggressive, even on the draw. Okay, we're in. So here, the first filling of our graveyard, this bauble will go in there. We don't need it. Unfortunately, that doesn't really help with Delirium. Let's see what they're going to draw here. A daze. Okay, that's good to know about, for sure. Daze is not effectual when your opponent knows that it's there. I think we put this land in the graveyard as well. I mean, it does help invalidate their daze. I'm gonna have faith that like we'll find it off of Punter. Maybe I'm being too cavalier. I do want to go ahead and do this, and I already know what the top of their deck is, and I'm about to. Yeah, I guess I technically. Yeah, we're drawing preordain. Yeah, so they are going to be able to attack, and they're going to be able to, potentially flip here. Daze would be a great draw. Okay, Force is not bad, but they have a Daze, so Force is off limits for now. Oh no, they have Beanstalk. Oh, I mean, she generated a ton of value. Look at that. So it's a 1-for-1, but we got a whole bunch of cards in our graveyard. Okay, so my instinct here is to go ahead and get rid of her, but there is a risk associated with that. Maybe we just let these clues happen, and we hope that. Okay, so I think we Delver, protects against Daze, and then we can hit their land afterward, and we'll give them another turn with creating clues that hopefully they won't survive long enough to cash in. That's the dream. This is fine. This is good. Knowing that they have the Daze, we do want to get another land underneath us, and we do have to worry about them potentially wasting us. But there's a saying, when two people are wasting one another, one of them is usually wrong. So they're foregoing the ability to crack these clues so they can waste us. I am super tempted to just go get a basic island here. Polluted Delta. Okay, now I'm not going to get an island. I'm just going to be bold. They could certainly daze this, but I do think getting a cantrip out of our hand while... yeah, and this also is a type for the graveyard. So yeah, I am going to go ahead and Volk here. And I'm going to attempt to preordain. This is the weakest card. And this is the one we least mind getting countered. Okay. This is fine. Murktide will be great eventually. It's not actually that great. I'm going to just put it in the graveyard. I'm going to put this Unholy Heat in the graveyard too. Oh, wait. We're putting it on the bottom of the library instead of the graveyard. Sorry. I'm not used to resolving preordain. I think this is the first time I've resolved a preordain in a while. This is an answer to a resolved Murktide, which would be 5/5. We will have Delirium. I'm going to keep this. Yeah. Okay. And we drew that. So now we're in Bowmaster territory, and we can't force the Bowmaster. If they Bowmaster us, it's brutal. I'm so ready to concede here. Can we come back from this? They've got the clues. They've got the basics. I'm going to let it happen. Yeah, in retrospect, I mean, we didn't know that keeping that Murktide around, and it may not matter actually, because Murktide is still going to get dazed. We drew another one, so it's fine. I think we just bolt the Tamio now. It sucks to do that, but I do think it's correct, because now is the rare window where, and it's done so much damage. Look at that. But what can we do? Now we do have a guaranteed force, even if they have a wasteland. We can force like a Beanstalk. So we'll take this. See what they do here. Okay, I think we could wait another turn. We're just waiting to draw a land, basically. Okay, we got a land, so now we can Merc. I am going to go for the Merc. It will be, let's see, 1, 2. Won't be very big at all. It'll be a 5/5. The other alternative is we wait a turn. I'm going to go for it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're keeping some card types in our yard. Here comes, it's fine. We're still unfavored. I'm glad I didn't concede though. Like those two lands off the top, we really needed those. They still got Daze in their hand, but now Daze is not as scary. So Brainstorm, I'm going to let that resolve as well. I'm glad that we stopped Tamio from existing so that we're not dealing with a Planeswalker. I mean, of course, we could have just attack in. They need 2 blue to be able to cast their own Murktide. It looks like they're struggling to find land. All right, Drawing Wild. Another Force. Not necessarily bad. I am going to go ahead and ponder first. Oh, you know what? I just pondered into a freaking Bowmasters. That was dumb. But we did find a Questing Druid, and I think Daze is pretty spectacular. So I'm going to put this Force on the bottom. I will Questing Druid later. I'll take the Daze now. Yeah, that was an unnecessary kind of foolish thing that I did. I could have totally unholy heated first. Yeah, sorry, my excellent friends. That was a punt. No excuses. Ponder's okay. As long as you don't find land. They are definitely gated on land. Surely they found a land here. They shuffled and drew. They didn't find a land. We're just getting lucky is really what's happening here. Right. I think I'm just going to chill and we're going to attack like normal. And then during their turn, we'll Questing Druid. We're winning the race by quite a bit here. They could Murderous Cut, which I will happily Daze. That's like their main way of killing Murktide is Murderous Cut or just putting a bigger Murktide in front of it, which I will also try to counter. Shriekmaw, very cool old tech. I mean, we could just Daze it here, and then we can see what they do. Shriekmaw is an awesome card, by the way. I'm glad it's coming back. I'm going to go ahead and just use this mana efficiently. So the entire game, we've never gone off Daze. Oh, we would have gotten a Force too, so that would have been nice. But I'll definitely take that Vogue next turn. Yep, good games. Yeah, they just got really unlucky. Like I'm not going to attribute this win to my play skill or anything like that. I think it is probably like a 50-50 matchup. Maybe we're slightly favored. So we're 1-2. See you in round 4. All right, we're finally up against a matchup that is likely in our sideboard guide, Painter. This feels pretty strong. Like open Delver, and then we have interaction. I'm going to keep this, and we're on the play again. I want to point out that we've been on the play at least 2 or 3 of these games, which is great. So I'm not certain that they're on Painter, but this is almost always a strong start. Also, they have a cool like shiny thing. I can't remember exactly how you get these. I always use the default one, so people presume I'm a noob. Okay, so unfortunately, we're probably not up against Painter. We're probably up against freaking Eldrazi. And you know what? When somebody keeps a hand with Once Upon a Time to potentially pull the room together, I am actually interested in dazing this. Call me crazy. I don't know if I've ever actually dazed one before, but it feels right. Because what if they're like on 12 posts and they needed to find like okay. Hierarch. Okay, so this is maybe Nadu, maybe Depths. All right, let's see what we flip. Yes! We finally flipped the Delver on the first try. Okay. So I think I'm just going to attack. Yeah, Preordain is really the only play. I'll go ahead and do it before combat. It doesn't really matter that much. You could say that like I'm giving them additional information I don't need to. Bottom. Man, they need to create a power crept Preordain that like actually like puts them in the graveyard, because that is a really weak card. The fact that this is like the 3rd best cantrip in Legacy says they need to print some more cantrips. Where's the fire design for cantrips, Wizards? All right, if this is a they're tapping for green. I will Force to Protect. Oh no, Cradle Control. This is probably not Cradle Control. What would they get this 1 mana? I don't really want to find out. I could pitch this Brainstorm. Brainstorm's going to put back a bad card. I'm going to pitch Borrower. This may seem like, why are you stopping a single thing? Like they are doing this intentionally for 1 mana. Like they could be getting any number of nasty cards from their deck. Sylvan Save Hero. Oh, that was one of the ones I was thinking they might have, but this is not actually that big of a deal. But this does mean they're probably on Nadu. I haven't seen Nadu with Guy's Cradle. Oh, they're on the freaking... okay, well, I have good news. If they are on the Court of Calling Nadu, we do have counterplay. Because we have lots of good cards in our sideboard. I'm going to go ahead and get my attack in, and we're just going to... I'm going to brainstorm away these bad lands. Not bad lands, thankfully. Okay, this is fine. I'm going to get the attacker on the table, and we're going to have this force negation that doesn't do anything temporarily. But now we are going to be delirious, and we're going to be hitting them for... We just sped up our clock quite a bit here. This bobble is great. It's why you play it. So we are getting good luck here. Oh, so we're probably either dead this turn cycle. Let's see, they can produce 3 mana, 4 mana. They could natural order and we'd just be dead. I think we keep this and we plan to just, this is our final stand. I would like to draw something that pairs with negation, but we're not going to have it next turn anyway. And by removing their land, well, I guess technically we could. Okay, so we're going to crack this and we could draw a card, and we could have drawn something other than that. We could have drawn a blue card. They're going to draw another one. Okay, so now my keeping the wasteland is looking pretty sus, as the kids say. Yeah, I should have been that and then potentially drawn a blue card here, just in case they have natural order. Okay, Nomad. And now, show me the Nadu. If they have a natural order, I'm going to be so tilted that I punted like I did. If they just have Nadu from hand. Yeah, here's the Court of Calling. We could have stopped this. Yeah, and we'll make sure that they actually have a Nadu in their deck. They're not trolling us. Okay, yeah, we can concede. Okay, so that is unfortunate. Like, I want to draw a card. Show me my card. Oh, it would have mattered. We wouldn't have drawn it. It was 2 down. But that was a punt. I just want to call it out. It doesn't matter what the result is. If you can say with confidence that something should have happened, and even if it doesn't break your way, or if it does break your way, that doesn't change the fact that like there's the difference between being right and feeling right and being correct. And we're looking for the correct play. Okay, so let's take a look at the rest of our sideboard, which is not showing up because our cards are too big. Okay, there we go. These Grafdigger's Cages, these are going to be good. So bringing these in, and a braid is removal. Price progress is probably not going to be where we need to be. Counterbalance can potentially just randomly stop a lot of their 1-drops. I don't know that that's where we want to be either. Let's take a look and see whether INF, who's been like the entire time, like, am I a joke to you? Nadu. Okay. I could have sworn there was like Nadu in here somewhere. Okay, so this is Breakfast Nadu, which is by far the most common, and that's the only one he covers. So as a result, we will not be able to use the sideboard guide for the 4th game in a row. I do like having removal. I think Forced Negation actually would have been really good there had we found a blue card. So I think that stays. Yeah, it's tough to figure out what we need to side out. We want to be aggressive for sure. We're on the play, so I'm going to keep the daisies in. I think Brazen Borrower is pretty bad against this deck in general. It doesn't really do anything. Like borrowing a Nadu out is not impactful. The game is already over at that point. I don't want to board out removal. I think I can board out a Murktide. Like, we're not looking to win. Oh no! Please. Sometimes like I'll submit and then there'll be like this. There's this bug in MTGO where the card will like hover. I won't try to reproduce it here because that requires me to restart my. Oh, this is a great hand! Wow, this is the God hand. This is what you want to keep. So, assuming they don't have just like an explosive opener with lots of things, I think we just DRC, bobble. They're mulling to 6. Like, they may actively cast their what's it called before we can. Well, actually, I think during our first upkeep they could cast their, if they're worried that we're gonna counter their Once Upon a Time, they can cast it earlier, but they're not doing that. Okay, and I'm not sure that it was correct to counter there, but you know, who knows what they would have pulled. It's impossible to know whether it was correct. But if you have a theory as to whether it's ever correct to do what I did, or whether what I did was just like the wrong play, you know, we don't necessarily need another land. That may sound crazy, but we really don't. They're not going to come after our land, and this puts the type in the graveyard, and we can just DRC and we can just daze every turn for the next few turns and beat them down. That is what I intend to do. Delver sometimes just doesn't need additional lands. So let's bobble them. They're drawing a Dryad Arbor. It's good to know about. We're passing. And our hope is that they put something daze-worthy on the stack here. They just play out the Dryad Arbor. Okay, Murktide's a bad draw. Please try to PE me or something. Yes. I will defend my lady. Force. This is a good card, but we want an instant. We already have an instant type in our yard, and we have a Murktide that we could pitch to it. This doesn't get us to Delirium, though. Let's see. I'm going to bin it. Is that reckless? I'm going to keep it. So we have instant type in our yard now. Unless they have like Simian Spirit Guide or the Green Spirit Guide, Elvish Spirit Guide, we're going to have our DRC next turn. We'll cast a second DRC. We'll have Days Up again and Force. And then we're just going to go full Delver mode, bolting their face or bolting their mana, doing other things to disrupt them while we beat. And I do think it's correct to go ahead and just pile on the DRC here rather than trying to get this one Delirious. I love having 2 points of interaction here. I wish our clock were more steadfast, but so the second we get something into our yard, we're back up to hitting him for 6 each turn. So an ideal sequence of events would be us being able to daze something, somehow getting Delirious off these two, and then hitting. All right, and that is fine. I will bolt that. I have to bolt it out of the way anyway, so let's go ahead and do it. Don't need a second Force. Don't really need this. All right, our Merc is going to be huge. That's the good news. Bad news is we're still hitting for 2. And the good news is our opponent just did nothing for a turn cycle, basically. We effectively 1-for-1, and they didn't develop their mana or anything. Okay. Brainstorm this turn. We could plow here. Okay, they didn't plow. All right, the question is, do we want to put a giant Murktide on the stack, or do we want to try for just hitting him for 6 this turn? And I think the answer is we want to try for hitting him for 6. And if we find a Wasteland, I want to use that instead of the Delta. Land a yard. Come on, one more look. Well, I'm going to keep that. All right. At this point, do we even really want the Merc? We can cast. Oh, we can just land preordained. That will get us Delirious. And then we'll hit. I'm going to put back the Merc. I could mill it. Put back. This is where like an experienced Delver player would be like thinking like 3 or 4 turns into the future. I don't have that capability. We are going to have to shuffle some cards away. I think the card that gets shuffled away is a Ponder or a Murktide. Actually, a Preordain is like Ponder's the same as Preordain here, except better. So yeah, let's just not deal with the janky cantrip. We're going to look for a blue card that we can put into the grip here. Dodge that. You definitely don't want more lands in these types of matchups. There's another Murktide, which is a blue card. It is also another type in case they somehow start exiling cards from our graveyard. I think we probably want it. Endurance is going to be forced. Unfortunately, this means that because now I'm going to put the Merc in there. I don't want the Merc anymore. Because if this Endurance resolves, it's going to be really bad. This Force, I think we're past that stage, frankly. All right, so we're Delirious. I think we want the Daze, followed by the Ponder, and then we just don't want this Delver ever, so we'll shuffle. But taking a Daze now does do some stuff to help save us. I'm like thinking really hard. This is a hard deck to play. Don't let anybody tell you Delver's easy. It's not the hardest deck, but it's certainly not an easy deck in my experience. All right, this is going to be a Daze on Springheart. Yeah, we'll Daze like basically anything here just for tempo. This is a tempo deck after all. I do want that Ponder, but I don't want the card below it, so I'm just going to bin it. I'm looking for a Brainstorm. Brainstorm would be good here. You may be asking, why do I even care about that card? Springheart and Tuco. It could be that maybe it was a mistake. Oh, wow. We drew a Daze. I think we just got this game. Wow. Daze is freaking awesome here. Let's attack. Yeah, we just Delvered them this game. Hopefully we can do the same. Game 3. All right. So game 3. Some number of Dazes could probably come out, but I mean, it was phenomenal there. Yeah, Pyroblast, there's really just one blue card in their deck, Nadu. And if it resolves, we just concede. I don't think we're going to beat a Nadu. Even if it resolves and they don't have the combo, they will eventually draw to it, and Nadu effectively blocks everything but our Murktides. Yeah, I'm not really sure how to play it. I'm going to take a quick look at how INF says you should play the breakfast version so I can at least honor his intentions there. So the way they describe the breakfast matchup is quick beatdown with light creatures and board control, and that's basically what we did. Light creatures, and do they take out a Merc? They do take out a Merc. Take out Force. They take out basically the same cards. They bring in Pyro, but of course, like the deck we're playing doesn't have the same like blue presence. So yeah, I think we probably just run it back with all the Dazes in. We're looking for a hand with some Delvers and some DRCs. This has Delver, Unholy Heat, Bobble to help flip Delver. Daze is a great kind of like interaction spell. We're on the draw this time, so it's going to be less, oppressive than it was last time, but I'm definitely keeping this hand. Basic Forest into Quirion Ranger. So I think we Delver first, Bobble ourselves. This time we're going to do it correctly. Oh man, I really don't want to deal with this land. We drew way too many lands, but we got the Brainstorm. We can put it back. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to play out my Delver. I'm going to Bobble, and I'm going to Bobble myself during their upkeep. It doesn't matter when I have the information. I might as well have the information as soon as possible. I just need a Bobble during their turn so it triggers during my turn. All right, let's see what our top card is. Bolt would be great if our deck chooses to give us some good cards here. The best card in the deck is absolutely Grafdigger's Cage if we can find that. It shuts down their, I think, 11 paths to a result Nadu. So they have 4 Green Sun Zeniths, 3 Natural Orders, 4 Quarter Callings. That is unfortunate. We definitely don't want that. So we're going to draw before we look at our top card. And we're not going to attempt to quickly flip Delver. I understand that you could do that. However, I don't think that's correct here. And the reason I don't think it's correct is because we need to brainstorm these excess lands. We've got like 3 lands more than we want here. So I'm going to be brainstorming, shuffling, putting back everything but land. I'm not going to take this trade. They don't have removal in their deck. Upkeep. So we want the Delver, we want the Bobble trigger to go on the stack second so that we get the card first. We draw our stinky fetch land. Now we get a chance at glory. Haha, Ponder. Yeah. All right. So I'm inclined. See, so we're going to definitely hit. And then the real question is, what do we do with this brainstorm? When do we time it? My instinct is just to wait and see, get more information. I don't think we Unholy Heat this. I think it's more important to brainstorm and shuffle away bad cards. We could do that right now, though. We could brainstorm, shuffle, Unholy Heat. I think actually that's good because that if they only have 2 lands, this prevents them from doing it else. Also, if they have Nadu, this is a way you can immediately start triggering Nadu. So I'm going to go ahead and brainstorm now. Please don't give me more lands. Okay, more lands. But we also got good stuff. All right. And now I'm just going to shuffle. And I am going to Unholy Heat. And then I'll play the DRC next turn. Do we want the Trop knowing we have a Questing Druid? We have another fetch if we need it. I'm just going to get this. I mean, I am tempted to just get on board with DRC. And like, we have a Daze. That might be enough. I think I'm an Unholy Heat. It's so tough to know what's correct here. Come on, INF, talk to me. I should have INF on, but I don't think INF speaks English, so I'd be doing Japanese, and you probably don't want to listen to me try to speak Japanese at a native level when he's a native speaker, and he probably doesn't want to be on my podcast if I need to tighten up on my Japanese, get it back up to shape. Okay, so I think the highest value play is just dropping DRC, and that's what I want to do, because this potentially shaves an entire turn off, and we could get completely burned and screwed and destroyed by them, being able to play around our days by being able to bounce. But it's worth noting that if we daze something, they can't replay a forest and then tap it. So they have to kind of plan ahead how they want to do this. Wooded Foothills, Green Sun for 1. So there's no point in dazing here. I'm just going to let it happen, and we're going to hope it's not the creature that gives Shroud when you sack a land. Allosaurus Shepherd, even worse. But we can Unholy Heat it. Yeah, I think Shep is the Unholy Heat target. They can just go get another one with their many, many search effects. When we Unholy Heat, we'll increase the likelihood of finding a... So I do think we need to ponder here. But finding the actual Grafdigger's Cage, that's what we desperately need here. No effects during our upkeep. Oh, so good. So good. So good. Baby, you're so good. Old Van Halen song. Love Van Halen. All right, so you needed to know that about me. 44-year-old guy likes Van Halen. In other news, water is wet. This is a keep. This might take a turn off. So we now have Delirium, which is great. These cards are not bad by any means. I'm going to play this out. I am going to drop the Cage. Yeah, I think we just go ahead and Unholy Heat the Shep while it can't do anything fancy. Let's just make sure this. Let's get untap it. Yeah. Cage. We can, well, let's actually shuffle first with this trigger on the stack because I am going to Unholy Heat here. Okay, what are they doing? Getting a Dryad Arbor. Oh, nice. Nice time. Well, I guess they could have done that regardless of whether we fetched here. And I will get the green land now. What are they doing? Court of Calling. Can't be countered. So this is bad. What are they going to get? Probably going to get another one of these. Yeah, this is really bad. Had I fetched before I started doing all this, it didn't occur to me that they could Court of Calling. They're just Court of Calling for, I think, X equals 1. X equals 0, getting another Dryad Arbor. That makes sense. So they've got this little army of creatures that, should they ever find a Nadu organically, which they may very well. Oh, actually, I have to get a Valk here, sadly. Yeah, because I do need the Unholy Heat. Force Negation. Into the graveyard. I don't think it's good enough. Let's go ahead and Unholy Heat this thing. Bobble goes in the yard. Let's go to combat. 6 in the air. Deal with it. They've got a lot of mana. If they can find first of all, Endurance would be really brutal here if they find it. Nomad. Please don't have freaking Nadu. They don't have a blue source. I'll take 3. The problem with Nomad is it can protect itself. So it's a very real possibility that they just redirect it. So we probably won't be able to get rid of this the way our deck works. With the cards I'm used to playing, Fatal Push, Plow, stuff like that, we don't have that problem. But specifically damage-based removal is bad against Nomad. All right. Okay, so this does give us the green to play a Questing Druid. I think we start by going to combat, and then we have Questing Druid during their turn. All right, this is the moment of truth. Even an Endurance doesn't save them. And if they fetch, of course, the Bolt will be ready to sweep them off their feet and whisk them off to the afterlife, which is where you have to wait around while some Jeskai control player mirror match goes on for another 20 minutes after time. That's what I mean by the afterlife in Magic the Gathering world. Oh, he did it! All right, we're 2-2. Beating Nadu, that felt great, and we will never know how clutch that Grafdigger's Cage was, but I suspect it was really good. The fact that the fact that they presented Nomad, and they did Court of Calling for very little value just to get a land. I'm almost certain they would have been able to assemble the combo without that. And we're in against NJ Mickle for the final round. They are an unknown opponent. We are on the draw. I don't think we can keep this hand. It's just way too passive. Delver is only strong during the first few turns, then it gets very weak very quickly. This is a keep. We can put back Questing Druid, which is a slower card. It's a good late game card. I'm going to put it back, and then we're going to hope that they don't do anything too explosive and that we get a chance to sculpt toward DRC. Darcy. She is the reason for the deck. She was so good last game. She shifted so much. Wow, a DRC on the other side of the table. Fancy that. Well, somebody's getting bolted this year. I definitely could have forced there. Actually, probably would have been the most impactful force because if they do anything here, it's going to suck. I do think it's fine to just open with another bolt. Sure. I'm just going to get a Vulcan. I'm going to bolt now. And I'm going to they may have days and that's a tragedy, but we will rebuild. I'm not going to give them time with her. When a Delver player has access to Darcy, they just fill their graveyard very quickly. Force is not optimal here. Yeah, I'm just going to do the same play. Wasteland. Yeah, that sucks, but they didn't have days last turn. So, yeah, this is called being on the draw in the Delver Mirror. I'm actually not that knowledgeable about how the Delver Mirror works. If anybody watching this is catching little micro mistakes I'm making, please let me know. This is one of my first Delver Mirrors, I think. But my understanding is you want to get Darcy off the table, and you want to be fearless and hope that, yeah, they're going to potentially wasteland me again. Okay, they're not. Yeah, I'm going to let this resolve. It's possible that this finds them a wasteland, but I want to daze something more impactful than a cantrip even at this point of the game. There may be an argument for dazing there just to reduce the likelihood that we get wasted here, because they would have probably played a second land before they played that just to insulate from daze. But, you know, Delver gets like such a free pass against a lot of decks because who would daze a cantrip against Delver? You know, who would waste Delver? You know, those kinds of things. Okay, so they are playing a different build than INF's build in that they have a surveil land. And that's what I play when I play Delver, because I just play the blue-red and you can get away with that. If they are on a predict type list like I play, power to them. Thanks for tuning into the Be Excellent channel. But daze me. If they daze me, it's actually not bad. I'll just daze back and then I can play a land. Okay. So I'll get a land drop for this turn. And I'll get the ponder. Unless they daze again. If they double daze, that's super aggressive. Okay, we're in. Let's find a DRC. Or a Murktide at this point wouldn't be terrible if we have another land. Oh, yes. Or we could just have everything. Sometimes they just have it all, said my opponent. Yeah, I should have stacked that differently. That was a mistake. But it's okay because I'm going to just... Darcy's coming down. This is going to immediately make her delirious. She's just laughing her butt off over there. I do think this goes in the graveyard because it increases the delirium. And we definitely do want to draw that fetch next turn so we have a second land. I'll just see what they're drawing. And at this point, like, do we protect the queen? Okay, they're drawing a land. So they're drawing a dud. That's great for us because we know they already have land in hand. So they don't want to be drawing lands. So we get our fetch here. I'm going to force to protect. She is my lady. Now I'm kind of thinking I don't want this land. Is that freaking reckless or what? I mean, we're drawing 2 cards, though. I'm going to keep it. I'm not going to get wasted out of this game. So I get a card, and then I'll get the land, and then I'll get a blank win, and hopefully that'll be a cantrip or a second threat. Pondering here. Probably desperately looking for a second bolt, because if they're a Delver player, they know the true power that is Darcy. Don't be a land. Okay, Force Negation is pretty close to it being a land in terms of usefulness. All right. Now I'm kind of wishing I kept the Questing Druid, but hindsight's 20/20 and other things people say when they make mistakes. All right. Brainstorm to the yard. Brainstorm to the yard? Merc? Well, I guess we're going to have to build a bigger Merc. They've got a 8/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It could happen. I do want to not fetch the thin because that's bad. But if it's ever warranted, if Fetch the Thin was ever warranted, it would be here. Because Brainstorm's not going to do it. We're not going to... Well, I guess we could Brainstorm into a second land and a Murktide. Brazen Borrower is absolutely the best rip. All right. Last chance to Fetch the Thin and maybe get something else. I have drawn 0 Brainstorms. I am going to not fetch because I have hope that I will find a Brainstorm here. Holy cow! Okay, you saw me labor over that decision, and then we just ripped the nuts. Sorry for the visual there. Come on, Borrower. You are going into the yard, sir. Okay, so this is not fantastic. Okay, so we could find our lone... what's it called? So I'm always thinking upside. What's our out here? So... Negation definitely goes back. I think Force goes back too. No. Actually, Force has to go back if we're going to do the play I'm talking about making. So here's my play. I'm going to put these back. Now I'm going to play out the land. I'm going to fetch away those bad cards. We're going to try to find the infernal, whatever. I can remember the Japanese name. I can't remember the English name because we were talking about it earlier. Unholy Heat. That's it. I'm just going to grab the Volk. Now we shall ponder. We're going to get a trigger. Wasteland goes into the yard. Unholy Heat. Unholy Heat. We can kill it. And we can deploy another DRC next turn. I love it. I don't love the fact that we're drawing a Force after that. Actually, we're not. Okay. So our opponent's probably going to be doing the happy dance when we crash in. Yeah. Unbeknownst to them, I'll even try it like make a big dramatic show. Oh, I don't want to attack. No, don't make me attack, Mom. They're going to block. And it's got to die first. It doesn't matter what sequence this happens. Now we fetch. And we have to hope that the top of our deck is kind to us because we are not out of the woods by any means. But we are out of the Murktide woods unless they happen to have like some... Okay, great. That worked. Wow, can you believe we're still alive? Play to your outs, folks. Play to your outs. We had to brainstorm, and then we had to ponder, and then we had to find the unholy heat. But we freaking did it. Now, our opponent's probably going to steamroll us anyway, but that was fun and dramatic, and yeah, I'm feeling good here. Like, I'm feeling like a good player, even if I'm going to get kicked in the teeth here. And that's what the name of the game is. Like, you know, you win some, you lose some, but you play the best damn game you can play. That's how I roll. All right, they know what we're drawing, and soon we will know what we're drawing. Is it a Murktide? Please be a Murktide. Delver, not the worst. Let's drop it. So they are going to get to play 2 of the 3 games, which is presumptive that there's going to be a third game, but they are going to get to play 2 of the 3 games out on the play, and that is a huge factor in the Delver mirror, who goes first. I think skill delta is also a huge factor, and I couldn't find anything for my opponent, but they could be like just a really seasoned Delver player that plays a lot of paper or something. And I know for a fact, like I know my own skill is very middling as a Delver player. I think I'm an okay tempo player, but I'm not a great Delver player. Still have plenty of time on the clock. We're both playing very efficiently. MTGO server is not lagging. Murktide! No, I'm not going to reveal it, and I'm just going to jam it right in the days. Use your unholy heat on this Delver, please. All right, I think there's a very high likelihood this gets stays, but we're not getting any younger here. I'm not going to wait around. So let's take... so how many sorceries do we have? We have lots of sorceries, so I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're doing a full-size boy. I always joke that he has a swimmer bod because he's probably swimming around in that really shallow cave. No! You went over my helmet? Okay, this is the question, Druid. Oh, they just hardcast the days. Never mind. Yep. Didn't even want to get the surveil. Oh, they have the Seek the Beast too. Okay, we're dead. There's no way we're surviving this. What do they put in exile? Island Ponder. Okay, it's not the best, but it's not bad by any means. Questing Druid's out. Ponder. Questing Druid grows. Our hope shrinks. Our hope for the future. Stillborn dream. Wasteland. I'm going to concede. We're not winning this. Okay. Let's go to the next game. You win some, you lose some. Said only by people who lose. Okay, so let's go ahead and put the Pyroblast out here. Those are definitely coming in. The Hydroblast coming in. And we'll check the guide, but I'm pretty sure Counterbalance comes in. Like, I can't imagine it not coming in. Okay. What does INF have to say about the Delver mirror? Delver is mentioned many times in here, so it'll take me a second to find it. Okay, I found it. So -1 days, -1 force of negation, -4 force of will. And then +2 yeah, so exactly what I boarded in. Okay, so we'll take these out. We'll take out the forces. We'll take out the days. And this match is all about not going down on cards. And it doesn't really matter whether you're player draw, you do the same configuration, I think. Yeah. And he says card resources, and I'll submit first. Card resources and the number of counterbalances. Murktide, our friend Murktide, who is a laundry detergent salesperson, Pyros, directly affect the outcome of the game. Use your draw sources to find the appropriate number of removal and land to be on the defensive as much as possible. Use Pyro and Daze for less important cards to make it easier to get through counterbalances and Murktide. Taking the first move, a 1 mana creature and spam. This is Wasteland. I think Google likes to translate it as Baron. Daze is still powerful, so when you can play on an offensive mindset. Thank you, INF. Thank you for creating this sideboard guide. Let's see what we can do. May fortune favor the prepared, and we are prepared with INF at our back. Okay. Yes, this is the hand. Okay, so we are going to open Island, which is not bad at all. And then we have Days, and we can do the bobble trick, which we will do correctly. We didn't do it correctly at the beginning of the video, and I'm going to keep mentioning that because I need to flagellate myself. That means hit myself in the back with a whip. It's what monks did to like keep their focus. I'm not literally going to do that. Again, we don't advocate self-harm on the Be Excellent channel. Okie dokie. Island. Delver. My opponent said, sorry for the delay, still relearning the format. Well, I will take any edge I can get. I am not too proud to be happy that you're still learning the format because I am just doing my best here. Oh, I draw freaking... I did it again. I targeted myself like a fool. All right, well, maybe our deck will be... I should have targeted myself. I targeted them. I'm just so used... Like, there's no other situation where you target yourself. Basically, unless maybe you have a fetch and you're trying to... Like, it's just muscle memory. It's habit. All right. Okay. Do we flip our Delver or do we sit there like a fool? Oh, wait. Yeah, it doesn't matter what the sequence because we don't know our top card. There's a... Oh, wow. We got rewarded. Deck did not have to do that for us. They opened Island as well. This makes me want to go... Oh, we drew a land. Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and play it now. All right. DRC's coming out. Our opponent made it easy by playing an island, so we don't have to think about, what we should do here. So we didn't have to burn our brainstorm. Ponder's fine. This could be a desperation, like I only kept a one-lander type ponder, but I'm never going to presume that. Okay, so there is a play here where we could like brainstorm, surveil, and then, we could decide to daze this back to our hand. But then we wouldn't get the brainstorm. I think I'm just going to trust that my deck will give me some cards later. Our opponent is brainstorming into Delver already, up and running basically. So that is good for us. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and start by brainstorming. And if they daze, that's totally fine. I just want to get deeper into my deck and increase the likelihood of delirium and turn the second DRC on. I think this is actually a daze here because then we have a guaranteed land drop. This is also an additional surveil trigger to try to get delirious. Preordain is precisely the kind of thing we want to put in our yard here. So they are unable to pay for days unless they want to force here. Now we get our other trigger. Please be something good. Oh, we're already delirious. It doesn't even matter. Yeah, this is great. Let's put this on top. Okay. Yeah, I think what our opponent was saying about just getting back into the format like that's showing here in this game, like we don't even need to worry about like Wasteland here. I think we just, I don't want to go too crazy here, but I do want to stick the second DRC. Borrower is a powerful card, but we have a Pyroblast. Yeah, I think I'm going to put Borrower back. Now we can play this. We can go ahead and just stick the DRC again, and this game is probably over. Like it would take a miracle for them to come back from this, especially knowing that we have Pyroblast in hand. Maybe like Wasteland. No, they're going to take so much damage they can't afford to do anything. They're not dead on board, but they're so close to being dead that from 0 mana they just can't come back. Okay, cool. Game 3. And again, INF doesn't specify anything about play draw dynamics or change the deck, so I'm just going to run it back. All right, we've got a good hand. If they don't have Wasteland, this is a really good hand. I'm going to keep this. If they do have Wasteland, this collapses. But we'll at least have a DRC on the table, hopefully. And my understanding is you can't play scared. This hand is insane if we find our lands. We're actually playing 19 lands, which is one more than normal. So I do think we'll probably be okay, even if they waste here. So I'm going to lead with... I think the conventional wisdom is you lead with Delver. This Ponder is appetizing because it does juice up our... Oh, man, maybe we do Ponder here, or Preordain here, just to increase the looks for a second land. I'm going to do this, and then we can even stack it in a way that, like, we draw the land first, and then... No, because we're gonna see both the cards before Delver gets a chance to flip. Wow, this is so good. I'm going to go ahead and... I want to put this on... So I top this first, because I do want to draw this after we draw the DRC, because this can make DRC delirious. And we'll just draw this now. And we'll pass. So in a perfect world, here's what happens. We cast DRC. We cast DRC. We cast Ponder. We get delirious. They're not wasting us. This is great. They're casting their Mishra's Bauble without a DRC on the table. Again, I will say this again. I've said this many times. This matchup is 100% about DRC. DRC is the cracked magic card that makes this all possible. This entire deck would just suck without DRC. Okay, they don't have some crazy stifle tech or anything like that, so we're going to DRC here. They are interacting. Seek the Beast. That is fine. See what they exiled here. 2 lands. Okay, well that's good for us. I mean, like, it's not a daze. DRC. Bobble. This is so fun. Oh yeah, here they come. Wasteland. They have tons of land. We're not going to be using this. It's great that they did that before, so we would know to dodge the Wasteland. Otherwise, I might have kept it. And another land. I think they're unlikely to play a Wasteland when they have 2 lands chilling there. So I think we probably have another turn cycle without this. So I'm just going to put that in the yard. Okay. Now, next turn, we can bolt them, get 2 more Surveils. And they're drawing a bubble. Okay. All right. So they're not delirious yet, but they will soon hopefully be. They have 5 cards in the grip. Anybody's game. Pyroblast is one of the best cards in the mirror. We drew a land. Okay, that's great. I'm relieved that I binned those other 2 lands. Okay, they're fetching. Wait, okay, this is the one they played out of exile. Okay, now they're just casting this. It's fine. Now we have a target for our bauble. This does not grow the Questing Druid, by the way. Wow, did they draw all their baubles? They drew 3. Okay, looking at our top card. Okay, looking at their top card. 4 cards in the grip. They're going to go back up to 6 here in a sec. I'm going to wait and draw before I do anything here. I'm going to let them draw these cards. They could draw Hydro, which would be bad for us. Okay, so here's what I think we do. We immediately play the land. Now we have lots of mana up. We play the Ponder first to get Delirious. No, wait, that won't get us Delirious. We have to Blast. I do want to take out this Questing Druid. I'd be amazed if they're able to keep it alive. Let's try it. I will keep it DRC. No, I'll put it in the graveyard to get extra Delirious. I mean, we're Delirious anyway. It feels like a pretty good card that we can basically cast immediately off our Ponder. But I think we do want to fill up our graveyard. We're looking for cards to protect our existing DRC. We're not worried about necessarily adding to the board. My opponent said, learning that I sideboarded wrong. Laughs and sad. I am going to give them our sideboard guide. We don't want this. I'll just tell them Google INF Twitter. He just published a killer guide. Okay, so spread the knowledge. Okay, so this hits that. Sick, good timing for me. My opponent said, keep delvering regardless of the outcome of this game. I hope you'll keep shredding Delver. I love tempo, and I love that it's actually a top deck again. So if they force here or really do anything, we've got Pyro with a whole bunch of triggers, and then we can eventually just fill our graveyard so we can have a massive Murktide. And an experienced Delver player may be like, oh, you should have thrown in that bolt at them and just ignored this. Maybe that's true. But I think getting this material off the table is good in case they can deal with this stuff. All right, let's go ahead and go to combat. If they have a bolt, that's unfortunate. Time to test competence of Google Translate. You and me both. I did read some of it in Japanese. It was taking forever, and I was just like, I mean, it's like a formal treatise on Delver. Basically, it's like picking up the New York Times and trying to read something in English if you're not a native English speaker. It's just like it was not a beginner text, in my humble opinion, as a Japanese speaker. Okay, now we're going to come in with this surveil triggers. We are looking for. I mean, I wouldn't turn away an additional DRC. I'm trying to think of what could kill us at this point, because their deck is all about doing 1-for-1 interaction. I wouldn't mind finding a force, probably just to. Oh wait, I don't have force in my deck. Yeah, I guess another Pyroblast would be good. A Hydroblast would actually be pretty fine too, because they might Pyro our Hydro. I don't know what we're looking for. I think I'm actually going to probably just play. It might be correct to just play out the Delver here, because if they play a Murktide, I do have the Pyro next turn, and it'll be safer to cast it next turn anyway. I mean, I think it's totally fine to keep this on top at this point. We can just play it, and it's a 1-drop, and it'll beat face, and it'll further help our Murktide. Yeah, I'm gonna keep it on the top. And this turn has been so long, I can't even remember whether I played a land. Look at all the stuff I've done in the log. Okay, turn 3, be excellent. So if it's my turn 3, yeah, then I did play a land. Okay, that's good to know. So I'm just going to stack it like this. I'm going to DRC now. Next turn, I am going to... Yeah, this should... Like, if they daze here, that's fine. Okay. Now they're like super duper in trouble because I can bobble and then I can shred through my deck. I can even Merc to like make them not delirious anymore if I need to take a turn off of attacking because they counter my Pyroblast. Okay, it looks like Merc is coming out. Oh, all right. So I do have an option here. I could go ahead and Pyro now, and that gives me a whole bunch of looks at a potential Force of Will. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. I think that's better than drawing the bubble because I can actually control what I draw here. Okay, they scoop. We got it. We 3-2'd after a disappointing start, getting our butts kicked by freaking Jeskai control with Stoneblade, Jeskai Stoneblade, and then what was the second deck we lost to? Coveted Jewel. Yeah, I don't think we would normally lose to Coveted Jewel. I think that was some combination of my piloting inexperience and maybe just bad beats, bad luck. I don't know, but this feels like if any matchup against Coveted Jewel is going to be favorable, it would be this one because we got like Pyroblast, we got a lot of stuff, but it didn't come together there. And the first one, Jeskai, you're just never going to... You can play against Jeskai Stoneblade literally 100 times and win 10 times. I'm not exaggerating. Like I would be surprised if even INF, with all his skill could reliably beat that deck. And yeah... So again, I want to make it clear. I'm not making excuses for myself. I'm just saying the expected outcome happened. And meanwhile, we beat decks where I think we have a pretty good matchup. I think we're pretty strong against Nadu. We beat that. The Mirror felt good beating the Mirror because that's like quote unquote pure skill. Luck does play a factor for sure, but you both have access to basically the same cards. I wouldn't be surprised if they were playing 73 of my 75 cards in this deck that we played today. And then the other deck that we beat was Beanstalk, which I think we are not favored in. I do think Beanstalk has a favorable matchup, but it's like a very slightly favorable. So yeah, I feel really good about how this went. There were several punts that I called out, and hopefully you in the comments have called out punts that I did not call out. By the way, if you know, my son likes to play piano. Sorry, I have to explain that in every video because people are like, why is there suddenly piano music? You're in like an opera house or something? No, I'm just at my house and my kids play piano. Yeah, like the list, of course, like feels super tight. This is not the exact list I would play. I'll just show you what that list would look like real quick. So I would play something like this, which is basically the same deck, except the notable changes are it's playing more Chain Lightning, which I think Chain Lightning is really good. I'm not sold on Unholy Heat, although it did help us clear Delver in one of those games. We ultimately lost the game anyway, if I recall correctly, but it was still good to be able to clear a Murktide. And then this list also, I would actually so I would make this change. I would go boom, and then I would remove this, boom, and then I would remove one of these Chain Lightnings. Yeah, something like that. And then I would probably put like, I don't know, actually, maybe I don't remove the Chain Lightning. I think Chain Lightning is pretty good actually, because it's really good against the creature combo decks, like Nadu type decks. And it's also just like seriously improves your clock. And it's like a lot of stompy decks are doing damage to themselves with the One Ring, with Ancient Tomb, and being able to just have like face up, what is this, 12 times 2, so 24 points of damage, just indirect damage, let alone, you know, you have Price of Progress on the board. But I would absolutely need to play more, and I don't, like, INF spent a lot of time preparing this guide. Again, this is the guide right here. URL is in the description. He spent a lot of time playing this, recording videos. Shout out to his channel too, to search INF. He doesn't do voiced videos. He basically just like takes his playbacks from recent rounds and just hits play and records that and publishes that. But that's still useful. I still watch that sometimes. Again, I just want to shout out to INF for creating this sideboard guide that we were able to use for 2 rounds at least. Super helpful. And I also want to shout out the new Retroframe Delver art. It's expensive on MTGO. I will eventually get them. I have everything else in retro frame. I want to show you how beautiful his deck looks when he's got almost everything in retro frame. Hang on. So this is it. You can see that like the only cards that are not retro frame in here are the Brazen Borrower, the Questing Druid, and you can get the cool like storyboard art for those. And yeah, like, oh, they even printed Unholy Heat in retro. Yeah, so you can literally play everything in either storybook art or retro art. And that is really cool to me. And I would need to pick up the Delvers in paper in order to be able to do that. And I need to get another play set of Delvers because I like to, like, instead of having to physically flip my cards, I like to just have extra, or use checklists. Checklists look so terrible. I like to actually have like an extra copy of the Delver, and then I put one in the token sleeve color, which for me, I use black for my main deck and pink for my my tokens and stuff. So, you know, I could just put down the pink Delver that's flipped on top of it. Anyway, I'm compulsive. Don't do what I'm doing. You're going to waste a bunch of money on extra retro border Delvers. But when I do upgrade to retro border, I'll probably be doing that. Anyway, totally unnecessary information there at the end of the video, but I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you are having fun going out there. And I hope you didn't cringe too hard at my opening 2 rounds where I was just getting completely destroyed because we did come back hard and we really won out the league. And that league felt amazing. I do feel like I'm getting better as a Delver player with practice, and I hope you'll agree. And I hope you'll also give me feedback on ways that I can get even better. And I hope you will continue to do the same, continue practicing. And until next time, be excellent to each other and party on.